I've been driving the Plymouth almost every day for about 2 weeks now. I've put about 200 miles on it, and it has been doing fantastic on the road. Just needed to do some brake fine tuning, which we got done yesterday at the shop. It's a lot easier to get that up on the lift. So that was finished, and then lately I've been wanting to address the oil pressure issue. So it's got a little bit of low oil pressure. At idle, it's maybe around 10, and then I never see more than half up on the pressure gauge there. So I know I'm not getting the 40 that I'm supposed to get. So I put a gauge on it, and yeah, even revved up, I was getting maybe 25. So I'm going to pull the oil pump because I've already replaced the bypass spring, hoping that maybe it was worn, but it was not. It didn't seem to change it at all. So let me show you guys down here what I'm looking at. Right now we are underneath the passenger side of the Plymouth, and there is the oil pump. So I'm not sure if this top cover needs to come off. This oil pump is different because it's on a high drive car. I'm not sure if I'll be able to remove this whole thing without it hitting the frame. So I went ahead and cracked all these 7/16 bolts on the cover just in case I need to remove it to clear everything. So I figured if I took the two mounting bolts off and then got it halfway out, it'd be really hard to break those loose. So those are broken loose just in case the cover has to come off. But right now I'm trying to get this thing out. So very, very tight in here. I'm sure most of you guys don't have a high drive car, but if you do, you'll need to use a 9/16 crowfoot wrench. It's the only way to get this bolt loose right here. I don't know if I can exactly show you why, but the body of the pump right here is so close to this, there's actually barely enough clearance to even turn this bolt once it's loose. So this one's out. I'm just got to work on the other one. And then once that one's out, we can take a look inside. I don't have all of the tools to check the clearances and straightness and things like that. So I'm going to do the best that I can. And if I don't find anything super obvious, I'm going to send it to a guy named Tony, who is kind of notorious in the Flathead community for doing all kinds of super cool stuff, and one of them is oil pump restoration and improvements. So let me see if I can get this thing out of here. We'll take a better look at it. Okay, I'm about to pull out this last bolt here. There we go. Same thing. Gonna have to use a crowfoot wrench to get to that. Now, the oil pumps on these directly affect the timing. So I've already got this thing set at top dead center. Hopefully I don't wiggle anything around. I think these things just come out. I don't know if I have to actually turn the rotor inside or not, but I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Can't really set up a tripod down here. Let me see if I can pry on this thing and get it to move. Yeah, there we go. All right. I got to get my hand up here. Okay, here we go. Just changed the oil in it yesterday, so should be nice and fresh gooiness coming out. Hey, look at that. Oil pump came out without having to remove that top plate, so that is fantastic. All right, I'm stuck in here, so I got to turn the camera off. Well, here is the oil pump on the workbench. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the outside of it a good bit so we can get most of this crud off before we throw it in the sonic cleaner. And then I'll take it apart, and I won't measure anything until we have it all the way apart. I will say this side of the pump right here was almost completely closed off with sludge, which was interesting. If you saw my previous video of desludging the inside, you saw that we pulled the side covers to clean out where the lifter valleys and stuff like that were, and of course did the oil pan as well. So hopefully that maybe we just had some kind of restriction and I didn't run the car too long enough to damage anything. We obviously had oil pressure, just wasn't ideal. So I'm going to pull this thing apart. Once it's all apart, we'll throw it in the sonic cleaner over there and go from there. Here we have our oil pump pieces all apart and on the workbench here, so just waiting on the sonic cleaner to heat up. But didn't see anything like super terrible. This will need to be refaced, it looks like. See some pitting inside there. And then we have some buildup inside here, which the fact that that buildup hasn't been removed by the rotor spinning means maybe we have a little bit of extra play. Clearances that are a little bit too big. Our shuttle, pretty dirty, but I don't see any damage on it. So I haven't actually put any tools on this thing to know how worn things are. So I won't go too far with what I think is going on. But once it goes through the sonic cleaner, then I will actually put some tools on it. But yeah, no side-to-side play in the shaft, which is good. So hopefully this thing cleans up well and we can just do a light service on it. If not, I'll send it off to Tony and see if he can work some magic on it. All right, so I have all of the springs that have to do with oil pressure control out here on the table. And these top two are new ones that I got in a kit from Andy Birnbaum. I don't know what this one is for. It doesn't seem to match anything. But this spring right here matches the spring that came out of the oil pump end cap, where there's a built-in regulator. Now, I know most cars aren't going to have that. I'm pretty sure that's a high drive only thing. But these match up almost exactly. The length, the width, and the coil width are almost exactly the same. My factory spring has a green color to it. So I'm guessing that was probably green in the beginning. Well, I went ahead and pulled the pressure regulator spring from the driver's side of the block, which is where almost everyone's regulator should be that doesn't have high drive. And this spring is a lot weaker. So it is a lot thinner coils, really not too much longer, just a tiny bit longer, much thinner coils, and a much weaker spring. So the two springs that are in the pump housing are have a lot more pressure than this one does. So this one doesn't have any colors on it, but I did take measurements of the extended length, width, and coil width of all of these springs, and I'm going to post them on one of the pages so we can keep up with this information. I've never seen anyone post stuff on the high drive parts before. I'd be curious to know what this little spring is for. So maybe you guys that don't have high drive cars, maybe this is what your spring looks like on your regular regulator, and maybe you don't have these other ones at all. So yep, I'm going to post this information on one of the boards and go from there. See if I can maybe find a replacement one of these springs as well. So we should have the pump assembly out of the sonic cleaner here pretty soon. Okay, so a little bit of development here for the oil pressure issue on the Plymouth. As you can see, it's idling and I've got 40 psi, which is where most people say that their gauge is reading. So it took me a couple stabs. I don't know for sure if I have the distributor 100% right with the oil pump. That was kind of a pain in the butt. But before I was maybe 10 psi. So I ended up shimming the spring on the oil pump cover, because there's a pressure regulator for the high drive cars on the oil pump cover. And then I also shimmed the spring on the block regulator. So on the block regulator I put, I think 3 washers. Come here if I put 2 or 3. And then on the pump cover I think I did the same. So now we're seeing tons of oil pressure. Maybe too much. We'll see. So I'm gonna let it run for a while, let it heat up and stuff. Well, I've got some more development here on the Plymouth oil pressure. So I've got the oil pump cover regulator shimmed with one of these washers. This is 0.004. First I had 3 of them in there and that was too much. Now I've got just one of them in there. And at idle, I'm somewhere around 40, I think. Yep, there we go. Around 40, and then when I get to cruising RPM, I think it's somewhere around 60. Let's see. Yep, there we go. So you can see once it gets to a certain point, it does not keep climbing, which is important. We want it to obviously open at a certain pressure, which is what it's doing right now. So I'm gonna let this thing get fully warmed up, let it sit here and run for a while so we can test it both cold and hot, but so far we're looking good. On this side right here, this is where your normal oil pressure regulator spring is gonna be. It's that thing right behind the starter there at the very bottom. So for all you non-high drive guys, which is gonna be 99% of people with a Plymouth, that's what you're going to be shimming. So this is the replacement spring that I got originally, and I tried to put it in on the pump cover regulator, which is the main pressure control for this car, and it was weaker than original. So the two springs I know for sure are metal color, which is standard, and then green, which is heavy duty, and green is in there right now. High drive cars are supposed to have blue. So when I put this in, my oil pressure was even worse. So I put the green spring back in with 1.004 shim here. I did shim the oil filter housing pressure spring, which is in my case for high drive on the block down there, but obviously it's not going to do anything really for overall oil pressure, I don't think. That one I was able to measure because my scale was in that range. It was supposed to be 7.5 pounds, I think. It was around 5 something. So I shimmed it with some of those spacers until it was about 8. And then I stuck it back in there. So yep, let this guy run for a while.